Hi everyone, welcome back to the educational videos that we're doing for our OA classes. This is week 4. We've already covered what is OA, exercise and sleep. Now we're going to be covering diet and weight management. Okay, so we're going to run through what a healthy diet would look like and what it should be made out of, and then some really good actionable tips to help you manage your weight and fill any gaps in your nutritional intake. So first of all, we're starting really simple. We have the classic Eat Well plate. I'm sure everyone has seen this before. I know I have, probably a bit too much. But this is kind of what your diet should be consistent of. Okay, of course, this again is a very rough guide. Okay, everyone will have slightly different intakes and needs, but we'll get on to that a little bit later. But on a foundational level, this is what it should roughly look like. Okay. Before we get into this, I just want to go over what a macro and a micronutrient is. Okay, so on the slide there they are written in the blue. A macronutrient, that is consistent of 3 things. That is your carbs, your protein, and your fats. Okay, so one macronutrient would be a protein, and then a carb, and then a fat. Okay, and then a micronutrient, that refers to your vitamins and your minerals. Okay, so that would maybe be your vitamin C, your vitamin D, magnesium, calcium, potassium. Okay, all those things that we need to basically function. And with that, we get the majority of our micronutrients from the green section there, which should be everyone's favorite section on that plate. With this, our standard guideline for this is a minimum of 5 pieces of fruit and veg per day. If you're achieving that, you've got a pretty good chance of hitting all your micronutrients across the day as well. Okay, and obviously that's quite a large section of the plate, which does mean quite a large section of our diet should be made out of fruits and veg. Going on to the next section, we have the carbohydrates. This is another quite a large section. Okay, of course we should be focusing more on the whole grain carb side of things, so your brown rice, your brown pasta, even your brown bread. Okay, the reason being is they seem to be more low complex sugars, so they give us more energy for the day without spiking our blood sugar levels, and then we get that drop straight after. Okay, and we then move on to the smallest section here, which is that purple section. So small you can't actually put the food on the actual diagram. This is the oils and the butters, if you will. Okay, so the fats. With this, obviously they have a place when you're cooking, things like that. I'd encourage you to use them sparingly. They're very high in calories. That doesn't mean they're bad for you. Obviously we need our healthy fats, which is why I'm going to encourage you to use the likes of the olive oil, okay, rather than the sunflower oil and the seed oils as well. With this as well, with healthy fats, omega-3, 6 and 9s, they've been shown to have really good impact on joint health, so that's really important as well. And the next section isn't necessarily a necessity, okay, because this covers the dairy side of things. Obviously your milk, your cheese. I know a lot of people can't eat dairy, maybe they're lactose intolerant, or maybe they're just vegan, vegetarian, things like that. Maybe just don't like it. But of course, this section is only really there to make sure you're hitting your calcium and your vitamin D3 intake, okay, which is obviously really important for overall bone health. Of course, if you can't eat these things, there's substitutes out there, such as your almond milk, your oat milk, or even your soya milk, okay. Those are usually fortified pretty well with your calcium and your vitamin D3 to make sure you're getting that nutritional content. Lastly, we have the protein section. So this is your eggs, your fish, your lean cuts of meat, so your chicken breast, your lean mince, your lean steak, okay? We want to be having lean pieces because that limits the bad fats on those meats and also reduce that calorie intake. With this, of course, again, if you're vegetarian or vegan, there's really good options out there now. There's the corn options. What I would say though is if you're focused more on the plant-based side of stuff, so like your chickpeas and your lentils, those are considered incomplete proteins. And what that basically means is that it doesn't contain all the amino acids that we need to make that complete protein. Okay, and how we kind of counteract that is we combine sources of plant protein together to make a complete protein. So maybe what that look like is a tofu curry with some chickpeas thrown in, and there's your complete protein. Okay. Unfortunately, if you look on the bottom left, we have our sugars, our crisps, our chocolate, all the really nice stuff. It's not on the plate, unfortunately, just because it's not a necessity for a diet. What I will say though is obviously, I'm not telling you not to eat no sugar, but let's try and limit our sugar intake, especially because it has a pro-inflammatory response. So with arthritis, that can really increase your symptoms from one day to the next. Okay. Moving on to the next section. This kind of summarizes what a calorie intake would look like as we gradually move through life. Obviously, starting at the age of 1, we're barely touching 1,000 calories, and as we get a little bit bigger, towards age 11, and then obviously as we grew, we want to be eating a little bit more as well. Okay, obviously there's some differences between males and females. This isn't always the case, because people can be more active than other people. Okay, so it is always dependent on your physical activity level, your current weight, and of course your current goals. Okay, so how much weight do you actually want to lose? Do you even want to lose the weight to begin with, and things like that. Okay. I'll get you worked up about this. It's just a really good demonstration of, what would be recommended on an average, but of course everyone has an individual difference. And then moving on to the next slide. Okay, again, this kind of summarizes what would change your energy intake. So age, like was demonstrated on the slide previously, as we get a little bit older and maybe as we're in our late teens, early 20s, where we're kind of developing, we might need a little bit more calories, but as we get beyond that point, we might need to reduce our calorie intake as well. Okay, lifestyle factors such as being active all the time. If you're going to be active, you will have to increase maybe your protein intake as well as your carbohydrate intake, just to make sure, one, you're fueling enough and you're recovering enough. Okay, that'll also come with an increase in calories. Okay, but again, if you're active, you need that increase in calories. Size, so if you're bigger than another person, you'll need more calories. Okay. Long-term health conditions, so obviously stuff like heart health conditions or type 2 diabetes. Usually we need to be really careful of how much calories you're consuming. Okay, especially on that sugar and fat side of things as well. Obviously fat more so for the heart health and sugar more so for the diabetes. Occupation, so if you're on your feet all day and you're active, if you're a teacher, labourer, things like that, you will need a little bit more calories just to make sure you're well fueled enough. Okay, and when we are talking about fueling, we don't just need to fuel our body. Our brain uses most of the calories that come into our body, so always think about that as well. Okay, now moving into the next section. So evidence shows there are significant health benefits to getting at least 5 portions of different fruit and veg each day. Okay, and I do say at least, because you can have as many as you want, just as long as you're hitting that minimum threshold of 5 pieces. Unfortunately, only 35% of people eat 5 portions of fruit and vegetables a day, which is pretty insane. I mean, if you're struggling to get those fruits and veg in, a really easy way to do it would be make a smoothie in the morning. So you can put 2 or 3 pieces of fruit in the smoothie, blend it up with some water, and there you go. You've already had 3 pieces, and it's 9 a.m. Okay. If not, again, another really good way is maybe put some stuff in some sauces. Spinach is a really good example of this. We all know spinach shrinks as we cook it. So if you're not a big fan of eating leafy greens, throw in some spinach. By the time you've cooked it, you can put a whole packet in, it'll form a nice wee ball, and you won't even know yet that you're eating it. Next way, okay, so this is some easy ways to help control your weight. So if you increase your protein and then reduce your carbs at the same time, okay, so why would you want to do that? Protein makes us feel a bit more full than any other macronutrient. Okay, that also means that as we eat protein, we become more full, and we won't need to kind of substitute our hunger with any of the other stuff there as well. Okay, increase fiber from your fruits and veg. Okay, so of course the likes of your apples, your bananas, your more starchy fruits, or your harder fruits, I like to say, they'll contain quite a lot of fiber, which means you'll feel a little bit more full going through the day. Okay, and then obviously become more active. Yeah, when we're doing our exercise classes, you're being more active, you're burning calories, and it means that you'll lose weight over time if you continue with the classes and make those lifestyle changes if losing weight is your goal. And then sleep. So we've talked a lot about sleep and hormone regulation in the last slide. Okay, we discussed the hormone of cortisol, which is a stress hormone, and estrogen for bone and joint health. I'm going to bring in another hormone, and it's called ghrelin. Okay, ghrelin is the hunger hormone. Okay, so if the better sleep we get, the more regulated our ghrelin will be throughout the day, which means the less hunger we'll feel as well. Okay, so this even again highlights how important sleep is in the management of arthritis and obviously just overall health. Okay, so that kind of sums up that PowerPoint for us nicely. If you do have any questions in the next coming weeks, please again bring them back into the class. We can discuss them with you. But in the meantime, I hope everyone find those points really actionable, and you'll go away and try and make some good, healthier lifestyle choices when it comes to your diet and nutrition. Okay, because you will feel the benefits over time. You definitely will. Okay, but in the meantime, please look after yourself and have a lovely week.